Alright, so I had some people asking me, Wingspan, we saw your video where you're just lauding praises on Galactic Reign, but we want to see some footage of Galactic Reign. And I was having some trouble actually putting that together for a while because honestly the problem is that Fraps does not record correctly in certain types of applications, and I wanted to use Fraps but it didn't work. So now I'm using Camtasia, and hey, Camtasia appears to be working, and I have a cool setup here because I actually have 6 games running. I actually have like 15 games running right now, so we can jump into them. And again, the thing to remember is that this is asynchronous gameplay. It is a turn-based game, so this isn't live. This is you send your move, someone sends their move, so that's why you have like 20 games running at once. You constantly get new moves coming in. You can play against tons of people. We see Big Time 67 and I have been battling it out back and forth for quite a while now. My longest game ever, 22 turns, unfortunately against 2 players here who don't have very interesting names. Player 974226044. If you're out there, man, mucho respect for dragging that game on super long. And let's just jump into game and see what's going on here. And just for the record, like I said before, there's 3 races: Alkari, SUNDOGs, and Zorn. I do not play Alkari. I don't like them. These are the Alkari right there. And here's an interesting map. We've got kind of this horseshoe shape. And you start out in this corner, they start out in this corner. And the goal is, of course, to capture these artifact planets along the right-hand side here. They are each worth 1 point a turn that you either hold them or colonize them. And if you hold all 3 at once, you get 4 points a turn. First person 25 points wins the game, but this is fairly early in the match. And I was actually trying to rush in here. You start out with 4 fleets. We have 1 in combat here. We'll get to that in a second. These other 3 here, I didn't really invest any money into. I'm going to move 1 over to this colony, 1 over here, 1 over here, but of course you should generally watch combat to see how it goes first. And I think I may have disabled combat videos, which made that extremely anticlimactic. Now you'll see here, after combat, typically there'd be a combat video rendered so we can see exactly how it's played out. I decided to go with factory destroyers. These are little ships that actually launch separate drones out during combat. 2 drones. These are evasive ships that deal lots of damage to mid-sized ships. So is a suppressor cannon with a damage boost, of course. I went in with a value of 1,575. I went in with 105 of these things. They launched off 210 of their drones. This guy came in with 1,248 of his ships. But as you can see, I only lost about 300 supply of his ships. He lost all of them. That's because he went in with cruisers, which are extremely poor against factory destroyers, especially factory destroyers outfitted with aggressor drones. And then he's got a bunch of fighter craft, which, they're all right. They're all right. So basically what this means is that I've now moved up into his territory, and my ultimate goal here is to move in to take out his colonies here, because he's got mirrored colonies exactly like I do. Of course, the fog of war prevents you from seeing that. You can only see things that are within 1 space of your own colonies. And we have a little strategy here. So he can, of course, reinforce his guys his turn. I have an income of 2,800 for the turn, so I'm going to assume he has a similar income. That means he could boost this thing up to 3,000, or he might have other fleets here, here, or here. That's one thing to always keep in mind. I could be going in blind, so I'm going to have to throw a lot of money behind my fleet to make it safe. This fleet here I know is safe because I can see there's nothing intercepting it. There's nothing here, so it can't be coming in. This fleet is safe because it's following in the tail end there. So I'm actually going to do here is, because I know that these things worked out pretty well, I'm going to reinforce here, just double my guys. So if he sends a default 15 unit fleet around this side, it's going to get demolished with my double the size fleet. And this one, I'm just going to pump in the money. Pump in the money. Now you don't want to get too predictable. You send the exact same fleet that you just sent, people are going to know how to take advantage of that. He's going to come in sending the exact same, he's going to know how to counter the fleet I sent. We could do some fleet research here. Honestly, he might just go with a lot of evasive fighter craft, in which case it might be good to get weapon accelerators so I can deal faster damage. But I don't really know what he's going to do. So I'm just going to dump a shit ton of money in this, and I'm going to get a little bit and get some Predator cruisers here, because if he does go for the fighter craft, I want to be able to hold them off. Predator cruiser has a high rate of fire, low damage, just kind of do, I kind of did this wrong, decent amount of damage across the spread here. 20 Predator cruisers, 2,800. He could still have significantly more. You know what? I'm just gonna go nuts. I'm just gonna go nuts. All right, here we go. All right, just throw all my money into one fleet. Typically, that is ill-advised, just in general. All right, so it looks good. So my turn is over. I don't have any moves to make. I've moved all 4 of my fleets. There's nowhere I need to colonize, and then that's the other thing. You have the option when you're in an empty planet to colonize it. You do need to pay money for it. Colonization takes 1 turn, and after that, the colony will start with 1 point, fill up the full amount of points, and as it fills up, you'll get 100 units of credits, I guess, for each turn that it goes up. Going to end my turn here, and now if he has completed his turn immediately, then I would get a signal that he has, but he has it. So I can go to another turn instead against Awesome Not. So here, this map is actually, this is another game on the exact same map actually, and you can see here that he had a fleet there. I could not see it until I engaged in combat because it was more than 1 unit away. I have a very similar strategy here, except for maybe 1 or 2 turns in, and I do want to show the combat off. If it's go back to the menu here, make sure it's on render combat videos. It's on. I don't know what I did wrong. Probably did something wrong, or maybe I loaded it before and I just don't remember. Okay. It's going to go through this again. Just to remind you, it would suck if you came back to the match and didn't remember what changed last time, and you're like, wait, why are all my ships here? Why am I in a battle? Alright, so this guy's got a lot of money. There's 2 ways this... Alright, we'll get to that for a second. I want to see how this combat went. Alright, no combat video. I don't know. You get the idea. It's a video. I don't know what I did wrong. 2185, I completely demolished here. Factory cruisers are kind of like the little factory predator guys. They're factory... things, but they have a range 80 attack, in this case doing 20 damage attack, so they can attack from extremely long range. Instead of launching 2 of these, it launches 10 of these at start combat, and I decided to go with the shield boost because I thought 20 damage a shot. It's pretty good, and it turned out that he did go with these 70 health, little short range, 10 range, 40 damage gunship destroyers. That's what I had guessed he was going to go with, so I went with these extremely long-range ships that can kill those off in, 3.5, 4 hits. And of course, the launching off these things are extremely good against destroyers. And I have a little small compliment there. So I've just completely demolished him. I didn't take any losses. He lost 700 units. And at this point, I could just move in and attack his colony, but there's a couple of reasons I'm not going to do that. One is it is completely blind moving into there. He knows exactly what I have. He could have ships here, here, or here. The second reason is that I am standing at a colony that's a part of a galactic system. So if I colonize this, it is going to cost me 825 right off the bat. However, once I control both of these colonies, I'll get an immediate extra 300 units a turn, plus the 100 from this immediately, plus the 300 for this. So I'm going to get 400, 700 next turn. Almost going to pay for itself. I will once again be moving this thing in here, not going in totally blind. I'm just going to get a couple units in here, just to have a little bit more insurance. And I don't really have any strategy here. I'm just hitting buttons because it feels like a good amount to have. Now, let's see. I pretty much wiped the floor with him. I don't have to worry too much about... And this is always a good time to do research, is when you don't anticipate a major combat next turn. So one thing I like to do is get factory battleships. They're bigger, and DSP missiles not related to Darkside Phil in any way, or I would not research them. And those are going to allow my ships to shoot missiles that can pretty much kill his smaller ships in 1 hit from long range. Now here we have a little meta game, all right? I could move this ship here to the artifact planet to attempt to get a free point and hope that he moves his ship down to my ship in order to intercept it, and basically I would get a free point. Then if he did that, he'd probably chase my ship back. I would eventually go into his territory and just bring around the Rosie there. Seems kind of suicidal though, so I'm not going to do that. Another option is I could just simply retreat, let him pull in, and then use these 2 rounds to gather enough resources, come back with a huge fleet next turn, and strike in. The other thing I could do is just sit here, reinforce this fleet, bring it in so he doesn't see that at all, and basically come in with a huge strike force. The only problem with that is that if he doubles down on this fleet and throws like 4,000 into it, it's going to be unstoppable. I'm not going to have enough money to match him because I put money in research. So what I'm going to do instead is going to retreat both of these fleets to the same area. You know what? I'm just going to make him lose some information here. The other thing, I could suicide it in just to learn what's this fleet. But I feel like I have a pretty good idea. I'm going to use this fleet, move it around, follow this so I can colonize faster. So what I'm going to do is stuff this thing full. We saw that this ship right here is pretty damn effective. I'm just going to fill my fleet with a bunch of those things. Use the extra money here. Confirmed. And I'm just going to let it sit here. Now I'm going to see what he does. If he moves in here on my colony, great, then he's kind of like, he's forced to lay in there. Another thing to keep in mind, I don't know if you saw that, but when you construct on your own colonies, you get 20% discount. That means everything costs 20% less, so it costs 4/5. That means you can build 25% more. That's inverse fucking mathematics there. And I am done with my turn. And let's see here. And I'm getting all kinds of notifications here, the new turn's right. We see the Jedi Soup has finished his turn from before, so we can see what happens. He reinforced with several hundred ships there. So did I. His fleet is smaller, and if 2 fleets are going against one another. The smaller fleet is blocked. Its movement is blocked. You'll see here this combat video is rendering. That is actually kind of the downside of this game. On mobile, it's totally understandable because it's like, well, it's a mobile phone. It doesn't have the power to render the videos itself. And I guess the cool thing is you could pretty much play this game on literally any, you could play this on like a netbook with absolutely no video card because of the fact it doesn't require any graphics to render. It does all the rendering in the cloud. You do have to wait for it, but of course lots of times there's like plenty of stuff you can do anyway, or plenty of stuff you can plan around. Now this is a little bit risky colonizing here because I have no clue what's sitting here, here, or here. It's very possible that he can come in with a huge fleet next time, writes his plan, and I've wasted my 600 credits. This is very safe colonization because he's got nothing here, and this allows me then to move my ship next turn because you get the points for the artifact planets if you're stationed at them, but that means that your fleet has to sit there and it's kind of trapped. Whereas if you colonize it, it gives you an opportunity to get a little bit of money off it. You see that the artifact plants are only worth a maximum 200 credits a turn, whereas the other ones are worth 400 credits a turn, but it allows you to move your fleets around. This is pretty safe, assuming I win this battle. Let's find out how I do. So here we see my factory destroyers moving and launching their drones, and this is not interactive. This is just so you see how your ships actually interact with one another, and you can always just look at the stats at the end, but it's always interesting to see that my factory destroyers, my drones essentially did a great job of wiping out his front line fighter, fleet of fighters, I suppose, moving and taking out his fighters, moving to the next round, and here, this is where he's got his kind of like laser-mounted destroyers, but we see that my fighters are kind of pulling ahead, not having such an easy time, not just wiping them out in one pass. So now, this gives you an idea next time, like, all right, if he runs a lot of destroyers again next time, maybe I need to find a better counter than just these drones, because the drones are working, they're just not working super well. Here's my second wave of drones coming in. I had a lot of drones, attack of the drones. And here we have the last of his destroyers. When the dramatic music plays, that means his fleet is done. And my drones are now going to get shut off. You see they died because they're just drones, but my real ships are back there. So now we can go to, and you can go back in the video and review any part you want. You can actually scan the ships if you want and learn about them. It's kind of pointless because you can just come here. And again, I only had minor casualties, 1,100 to his 2,200 losses. So basically, he lost 2 ships for every 1 that I lost. I am feeling quite good. And here, I have quite a quandary. I could simply move up here and try to disrupt his system, and then move across here and disrupt this system. I could move here, try to disrupt his colony, and take out one of his fleets, although I'm going to guess his fleet's going to come this way and try to make it around, but little does he know I have a fleet sitting here. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to colonize here, because I doubt he is really going to have the balls to move in and attack me, considering I've just been so successful 2 combats in a row. And I'm just going to completely double down on what I've been doing. Actually, let me look at what kind of technology I can research. Hold on a second. Let's see here. I have no technology research. If he stays committed to his current line, you know what? Just for the sake of differentiation, I'm going to go with a different line of research this time around, so you guys can see I'm spending all my money on this. We see that he has accumulated 1 point, 1 victory point. So that means I know for a fact that he either has a fleet station here or he has it colonized. And he's definitely not on both of them. So that means he has a fleet probably here or here, max, not there. Okay, we saw he had a fleet here, so that makes 1 fleet, 2 fleet, 3 fleet. And his 4th fleet's got to be somewhere around here. He's going to be replacing his 1st fleet. Probably not there because it's too far out of the way. And that's the other thing. I could move here, but if he replaces his fleet here and it's huge, I could be in trouble. So I'm going to be ending my turn against Jedi Soup 1856. Let's see here. Let's go back to Awesome Knot. It appears that Awesome Knot has made his play. He did attack in exactly as I predicted, so my retreat perfectly well timed. This guy was going to stand his ground. He's backing up his fleet with secondary fleet. And now here's how colony bombardment works. He's now saying, and you see that I got extra money because I now control both of these. It's kind of like having Boardwalk and Park Place, except in outer space. And he did reinforce that fleet too. To basically equal amounts is kind of good. I didn't move in there. And now this fleet is gigantic. But here's the thing. If he wants to destroy my planet, you'll see it's in bombardment now. He has to stay on my planet for an entire turn without moving, without losing his fleet. He's got to stay there. So I know that if he wants to get the bombardment, he has to stay there. Now, of course, he can move in to another fleet. He could also chase his fleet. I'm going to move that fleet out of the way. And I'm going to colonize here. Ooh, 900. I feel like I need the money. I need the money more. What I'm actually going to do is retreat here. So if he chases me in, again, here's the thing. Let's say this is what my plan was the whole time. He chased me into my territory, which is bad for me because now I'm on the defensive. What's good though is that if he wants to reinforce his fleet, if he wants to buy more ships now, he has to pay full price because he's in my territory. But because I'm in my territory, I don't have to pay full price for my fleet. I can pay at a 20% discount. So now I'm going to be creating a new blueprint for factory battleship. And I have DSP tracker missiles that do 55 damage a hit. Now I don't remember if in this game he had the 70 health guys or not. He's got a mix of fighter craft and destroyers, so I'm going to actually go with the hunter drones on this one. They're a little bit more evasive, so they can evade a little bit. I'm going to assume that he went with the 70 health guys. That might be incorrect. I'm not 100% sure. And because ghost signalers are great for long range, but I don't think he has any long range ships, so I'm going to go energy shield defensive. So now I have attacks that are set up to do 82 damage to wipe out his fleets twice, 2 ships, every single attack at 80 range. I have a plenty of light to withstand it. I got this thing to screen out all the smaller craft, and I'm just going to go bam, bam, just going with 10 of those. And these seem to be pretty effective. No reason to not just throw in a couple more. And again, these are effective. Now I'm throwing a lot of money behind his fleet. I'm going to double his capacity. So even he would have to spend 3,000 to do what I just did, but I didn't spend 3,000. I spent something like 2,200 or something like that. And I had a huge discount, so I'm going to swing in. Now he could retreat, and then I've kind of played my hand. He can see from the little thing that I'm going into capital ships. He still doesn't know exactly what kind of capital ships. Here, if he attacks, I'll have the exact same advantages before, but of course I've given away some ground, and meanwhile I can kind of move these guys up and capture a new territory. You know what? Actually, since I'm moving a fleet behind here, I don't actually want to do this. I'll let this smaller, it doesn't matter what size fleet you use to colonize. All that matters is that you colonize. And you know, I'm going to dump a little bit more value into this fleet so I don't have to spend it next round. Oh, and that's the last thing I had to mention. The money you don't spend every round, you don't get to keep it. It doesn't carry over in next round. So you snooze, you lose. You got to spend all your money. I'm losing 4 units because I don't have a way to spend it. I don't have a unit that's worth that little. Here we go. On this map, we can see what's going on here. Moving in exactly into position as I had hoped. Man, I'm playing a lot of matches on this map. And here you see I haven't been colonizing this. It's not worth it, this 15 fleet. I don't see any threat coming in here. Let's see how this combat went. Whoa! Wow, that was close. All right. So it's very close. I went in with 2,700. He went with 2,000. He lost his fleet. I technically have my fleet. However, technically, it was a Pyrrhic victory because I lost 2,500 and he lost 2,000. So even though I have my fleet and I maintain my fleet position, I did not do so great. Let's see what he had here. He had his heavy battleship with long-range attacks, mid-range attacks, actually 40 range. He's got javelin missiles, I'm sorry, Nimbus missiles, and flak cannons, Dominator cannons to deal with small craft. And unfortunately, I had a lot of small craft, so this thing was highly effective. My fighter craft somehow survived to win, but now I'm in a bad position. I'm in a bad position. Gonna move in here. That looks pretty safe. Gonna move in here. That looks pretty safe. I'm going to go for that. So if he's got long-range ships with and here I'm not playing the Zorn here. Here I'm playing the SUNDOGs. SUNDOGs are typically good against fighter craft, not so good against long-range ships. I could double down with assault destroyers that do auger beam, huge amounts of damage. But he's just pumping out. Like, I feel like I actually have to go into the heavy ships, but I just don't see that as being viable. I could go for ramming strikers that are kind of suicidal, or I can kind of go with high hit point assault ships here, which may be what I have to do. Unfortunately, this is going to cost me a lot of money to research this tech tree. Getting brawler battleships, extremely high health point, extremely high armor that just, you know, laughs at small attacks, but I don't know, it feels like a bad idea. It feels like a bad idea. And I really, really want to keep this area right here. Now, one thing I like to do is, so I'm going to move in, he's going to predict I'm going to move in, so he might make a fleet that's like 600 to combat my 400 fleet. What I like to do is bring my fleet up to double whatever it is, so like around 800 to 1,000. So that way, even if he tries to one-up me, now I'm 2-upped him and beat him in here. Same thing's going to happen here. We saw that those strikers worked well last time. I don't really think the auger beam is going to be that good. I don't think that these ships can get over and do the damage they need to in the auger beam. We see that The armor is not going to be good. We're just going to go for heavy damage. However, I just need to have something. So I have a mix of assault destroyers and fighter craft, and I'd like to just stay here and hope that he's not going to move in with a huge fleet. I'm actually very surprised to see that he does not have this colony, this planet colonized. And that's it. Done with this turn. Next turn. Let's see here. Blood Clart. Again, I'm playing Sundogs. He's playing Sundogs. We could say that I'm going to try to be a Sundog millionaire. He actually kicked my ass. I had moved a fleet all the way around to his home territories before, and he wiped it out. He didn't lose like anything. And I was forced to start over and start moving this small fleet back here. Just make it slightly bigger. And here we have, I'm ahead in victory points, but just barely 4 is not a very big lead because I had these 2 planets for 2 turns now. I got a decent sized fleet here, but let's see what just happened. And, I had a placeholder fleet on the planet. Now, the bad thing is I lost my fleet. It was only 30 units of fleet, though. The good thing is I learned exactly what's in his fleet. He's got brawler battleships, base 3 armor. That means they basically take no damage whatsoever from anything that deals 3 damage or less. He's running dual fucking antimatter beams, 1750 each. That means he does 3500 damage a turn. However, it only does 1 damage a turn, so that means it's really bad against fighters. Of course, he's got the armor, and he's just doing tons of damage amplification. Absolutely out the wazoo. That's how it's getting. It's only got 3,200 points, though. It's a very slow-moving craft. That means if I have some kind of long-range craft, it could probably hurt it a lot. Long-range, high damage would be great against this, and he's got short range. These things, very similar. He's doubling down on damage. So what I really need is either to have a swarm of high-damage, small craft, or a whole bunch of long-range, high-damage craft. Now, I am not feeling too good about where I could place my fleets. I could move this fleet down and then place a small fleet here. Could do that. You can only place a fleet on planets that you've colonized. If you lose all your colonized planets, you lose the game. If the other person gets 25 victory points, you lose the game. I don't know. That's pretty much it. Those are the ways you lose the game. Let's see here. I could colonize here because I don't anticipate he's going to just randomly move up towards my colony. So I'm going to try and move my large fleet in. Let me just try to remember what kind of technology I have. I don't have any long-range technology. I don't have auger beam. I guess I could use ramming striker. Seems like a really good idea right now. You know what? I'm going to go double down on... This is probably a really bad idea to spend all my money in 1 turn on research. But basically my goal is next turn to just swing in with a force that he cannot reckon with. And you know what? I don't want to... Let's see. I already spent so much money. Jeez. That's a lot of money. But hopefully I'm just going to wipe out his fleet and make him pay for what he's done. These guys do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I don't have enough money to buy even a single one anymore. They are like 12 each. All right. So my day is going to get absolutely ruined if he happens to move up here. However, well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. And actually, you'll see that because he had already made his turn, the game was waiting on me. It just immediately moved me in. We saw that he did have a fleet up here, and it moved down, which means he's 2 turns away, so I feel totally safe to colonize right here. He has just colonized, which means he spent the money. However, you can see he spent a lot of money colonizing. I don't think he's going to be shy about moving in and attacking me. Now, he could do a couple things. He could move into this area here to try to force my hand. If I even spend all my money, 2650, and he doubles down again another 3,000, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So I think what I'm actually going to do is move. Oh man, I don't know. I'm going to move my fleet here. Now I could move this fleet bigger and attack. However, like I just said, if he moves, he's going to have the advantage because he's got the discount down here, so he can make a lot more ships than me. If my fleet gets wiped out, I can't remake here. So I move up here. I'm going to take the small fleet. And I'm going to use the small fleet to get my discount because it's currently on my home planet colony. I'm going to create a Terra Mortar, Dreadnought, deal shit tons of damage, long range, absolutely brutal damage. How much health did this thing have? It had like 3,000 something health. I believe that's enough to kill it. Throw some armor plating on to protect it. 10 armor is a lot of armor to protect it from fighter craft. So he is not going to have anything to do with that. Like he's not going to be able to deal with that shit at all. Oh, and I have ramming strikers, Ramming strikers have a really shitty chain gun. They're 10% evasive, but they can crash in for 70 damage. If you had the damage amplifier, they can do 25% more, like 90-something damage. Great against capital ships, as long as capital ships don't have anti-fighter technology. And now you see my ships have a mixed amount of 5,000. I'm going to move this fleet here. Why am I moving this? It's only 15. If he doesn't move here, right? If he moves here, that means I can come around and leapfrog him and land on his planet, force him to come back to his planet. And that's when I can swing in with my other ships. That's pretty safe for now. I'm going to end it right here. Here we have a match against this player guy, and you could just click through or tap through or whatever to move things along pretty quickly. I've researched all the brawler ships. Let's see what happens here. I got my assault predator ships. I got my fighter craft moving in. I think those are strike ramming strikers actually. Just wiping out. He only had one ship in the unit, so it's not really. It was really no contest. No, these are regular strikers. All right, fine. So he did move in. Now he lost his colony. Oh my God, he's got a big colony right there. That is really bad for me. But it looks like he actually does not have this. So I'm going to start moving this way. Hopefully wipe out whatever he has here. You'll remember I moved my 1,000 unit fleet over here because he had like a 200 unit fleet. I had a 400. I upped it to like 1,000. Watch my fighter craft just absolutely demolish everything. My long range ships didn't have to do jack shit. And there we go. Oh, jeez. So again, I am just gonna. I know I have way more money than him, and here's how I know. It's because I have two full systems. That's like 400, 1,200 each, plus the 300. That's 1,500, 3,000 per round. But he does not have either of these systems, so he's down at least 400, 800 plus 300 plus 300, 1,400 under me. So I have way more money than he does. Totally safe to colonize here. I could try to push into this fleet and damage it. I'm not going to do that though because A, he's got the colony bonus, plus the fact that I'd be moving my fleet to the corner of the map, which is not useful, whereas if I move it this way, I can start putting pressure on these systems. This, however, will be a good idea to attack this way, and I'm just going to edge this thing up just so I can peek and see if anything interesting is happening in this region of space. And I am just going to go absolutely all in here. I'm going to create new ships, brawler battleships. Get the antimatter beam in there. Throw in some armored plating to protect it so it doesn't take damage to small ships, and afterburners, double speed up to 20. Throw a couple of these in just to be heavy hitters. And while I'm at it, I think I'm going to research machine guns, which will allow my heavy ships to do more damage. Now see, I have two types of skirmishers. One is the type with a normal cannon, does 3 damage a turn, 10 range. The other is French, because I actually did this on my phone, which is set in French, where I have shock missiles, 2 damage a turn. However, the missiles can hit multiple ships at once. He's got a lot of fighter craft, so I'm going to invest in those. Okay, so now I'm going to go in 3,000, double up on him, and I guess I'm just going to invest a lot of money, extra money into this fleet over here. Oh my God. You know what? I hate the Alkari. I just don't play as the Alkari. Alkari are lame. Sundog's the best. Zorn's the best. Alkari is lame. Here we have player on me. He did not make a move there. We have 2 battle engagements, so I want to see how this turns out. Now see, I played it exactly right. I pulled out. Oh, I pulled out a little early. This guy did swing in with a 5,000 unit. We see he's got lots of fighter crafts, a lot of mid-range ships, whereas I've got kind of mid-range ships and capital ships. And I need to move in on him next turn or I'm going to lose this colony. But that also means he's trapped there. I know he's not going to move another one. No one would really risk that. There's no way he would chase me back another space. I don't think anyone's that dumb. All right, we got a combat here. Here's all my mid-range factory cruisers. If we pause it, again, we can scan it. And factory cruisers here. Anyway, sorry. We don't really need to scan on the whole time. And these are my guys. The only problem I really have with playing the Zorn, they're the machine race. That's why they have all these drones. That's why they never really send any people out to fight. They just send machines. Totally cool with that. Got a really Borg feel to it. Resistance is feudal. You come against a wingspan. You're getting assimilated. All the ships, not really assimilated more. It's just being blown out of the sky. And that's it. Quick battle. He loses. I win. I knew that was going to happen. 625-96. Absolutely no losses on my side. He just has a bunch of light strikers. And he's going for the flat cannons to try to shoot down my fighter craft, my drones, but he just did not have the numbers to do it. So I'm going to take that one. And again, I could colonize here, but instead I'm going to move in and just move in my fleet, put pressure so I can start needling in and destroying his colonies. Where are my ships? All right, so I got 1, 2, 3. Other one, battle is rendering here. I wonder if I have enough money to face this guy down. And he's got a lot of small ships. I'm just trying to remember. I do have the DSP missiles, and I have the ghost signalers. He doesn't have any long-range ships as far as I know. So I feel like even if I go in under him in the value of our fleets, I have plenty. But I'm going to learn a lot about his fleets here. We can see my mighty fleet coming in. I'm going to learn a lot about his fleets watching this once again. Going in with my long-range lasers to wipe out his cruisers and his destroyers, and I guess a couple fighting craft at long range. Absolutely brutal, but here's fighters are coming in to engage with my drones. It looks like, oh, they have the edge. Come on, drones! Attack of the drones! I took a lesson from Obama. I decided to send in all the drones. Didn't care how many civilians I killed, just wipe them all out. Wipe them all out. Here comes my second wave of drones. These aren't my drones. These are actually the factory destroyers shooting off their little mid-range missiles to chase down his fighters. It looks like it's not effective. I wouldn't say it's Pokemon style super effective, but it's moderately effective. It's kind of, does he have cloaking? I think he's got cloaking. Shit. Alright, cloaking would be bad. Cloaking would be bad. But here you see the DSP missiles. I wiped out a whole fleet. A whole, like, fucking squadron of his destroyers at long range. He's got the cloaking on, which means he's got 80% of evasion at any time that his ships are not firing, which is a lot of evasion. The one thing about the factory, the larger factory ships, the factory capital ships, is instead of just launching, let's say 5 or 10 drones to begin combat, they basically constantly release drones, up to 150 drones for the cruisers, I believe, and 450 drones for the dreadnoughts. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. It's all over. Zorn always win. At least when I'm playing him. Absolutely no losses. Only drone losses. He got completely wiped out. He played right into my hands. Again, he's got the 70 damage, guys. So you see it was worth it to put the damage amplifiers to get it past the 70 damage threshold. I win. I always win. And now I'm fearless. I'm just going to move in there. I'm not even going to reinforce that. I know I'm going to wipe him out here because I know that these ships right here are super effective. Just going to spend all my money on them. Fucking double down. You know what? That's actually really dumb. I don't need to spend that much money. What I just did is like really dumb. Like, ladies and gentlemen, don't do what I just did. Do not spend that much money when you don't need to. We're gonna dial this back a little bit. So I'm gonna outspend him here, 7,000 to 4,000. And where am I gonna spend the rest of the money? I'm gonna spend it here. I'm gonna spend it on this fleet because I once again I am going in blind. It's not totally blind, but it's just blind enough. I really should be using the keyboard for this. I just like swirling around the mouse a little. So that if he is bringing a fleet to engage me, I've got him cornered. You might be asking, when am I going to play this? I'm going to play until my turns are done, and I can take a break. However, my mouth is getting a little bit dry. I could really go for like some iced tea or a Coke Zero. Here we have me playing SUNDOG. It's a totally different map. This map is very symmetrical. I mean, the other one's more like it's got that bilateral symmetry that's horizontal. This one's more vertical symmetry. You pretty much have a freebie on each side of the map as far as artifact planet, and then one in the middle to fight over. Again, I could go in and try to get some points. I'm not going to do that. I'm instead going to go for colonization. I'm going to play the long eco game, the macro game here. And this is the only blind move I'm making. It's possible he has a fleet here. I don't even know what race he's playing. Now we see he's got 1 victory point, which means he has a fleet here. Okay, he must have earned it this turn. This is like turn 2. He definitely doesn't have a fleet here. He doesn't have a fleet there. So he's got 1 fleet here. Probably the other ones are close to where I have mine. So he could possibly be moving in on my fleet here. What I like to do is just research brawler cruisers and just leave it at that. So if I need to go into heavy ships, I can. Right now, I've gone into bombardment cannon. Oh god, what is the destroyer? This is like cannon destroyer. But basically, I got a long-range weapon here. Do a lot of damage to wipe out like medium-sized ships. To complement that, I'm just going to build a shit ton of skirmishers to go with it. So if he's got smaller ships that can fight, or if he's got ships that are good against large amounts of damage, boom, turn over. Turn over, Apple turnover, and here we go. The person's ready. Here comes a new turn. Let's see, and there we go. So it's a good thing I didn't move into the area, although I don't know how big his fleet is. It's 450. All right, so I might have beaten it. However, can't guarantee that was going to happen. He's got a bunch of mid-range ships. We see now that he is Zorn, which means these are probably... oh, god damn it. There's Zorn. Okay. The good thing about Zorn... is all their light ships pretty much have really shitty health. Like, you could just tell right off the bat that they have crappy health. So... if I build a brawler cruiser, antimatter beam, throw some armor on it. 8 armor, 4 slots plus the base armor. That's 9. These things will be able to withstand pretty decent attacks or anything he's got to throw at me. These ships right here, the cannon destroyers, these things will be able to wipe out a lot of his ships at range before he can even engage them. And I'm just going to throw a lot of money behind him. Just going to throw in a lot of money. I'm pretty sure this is a pretty safe proposition. And use the rest of the money on some research. Going to go with the brawler battleships and move it on up the chain. And that's going to be the end of my turn. Do not fuck with the SUNDOGs. Why would you fuck with the SUNDOGs? And victory! It appears that I have achieved victory with the SUNDOGs against, who is this person? Composed Body 161 conceded to me after, I don't know how many turns I was, 19 turns. I built 43,000 value in ships. He built 35,000. However, in our 11 battles, I won 8. He won 3. I destroyed 35,000 units of his ship, which is, as you can see, more ships than he built. I even destroyed the starter ships he started with. So I destroyed more ships than he even built across the whole game. I got 10 technologies. He got 1. Jesus, how that even happened? And when the game ended, he was earning 2,200 credits a turn. I was earning 6,600. Let's see how the final turn played out. Fucking SUNDOGs. Do not fuck with the SUNDOGs. Why would you even try to fuck with the SUNDOGs? They're called the SUNDOGs. Jesus. And here I'm getting 4 victory points, 3 for each of the artifact plants, plus the 4th for the bonus of owning all 4 ones. I had really cornered him here, pushed him into the top of the map. And there we go. In the final battle, I lost around 8,000 value of my ships. He lost 10,000. My ramming strikers here doing tons of damage, taking out his artillery cruisers. And these guys, I had opted for some mid-range Goliath railguns on my dreadnoughts to just cut down. See these things? Look at this. Look, these things do 60 damage. So for 12 times a turn, they do 60 damage. And look at this. These things got, what, 1 health. These things down here have how much health? 40 health. Bam. I was just cutting these things down. 12 times a turn times 8. I was cutting down 100 of these things a turn. He didn't even have 100. So there you go. That's what happened. So everyone, this is Galactic Reign. This is what it's like to play Galactic Reign, basically. I don't know why I was getting some errors on the videos, but it's possible it's because I downloaded them on my phone, so it didn't like double dip them. Anyway, this is a really fun strategic game. It's great cross-play between mobile and PC Windows. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Slant6 and Microsoft Studios for putting together such a cool game. I've been playing against the developers and they've been kicking my ass. So great games there, great games, Big Time 67. I hope everyone now has a better idea what this game is actually like to play. If you have any interest, I guess go pick it up. All right, it's just $5 and you can pay $5 once. And if you do have a Windows phone, you get it on the phone and your computer for just a one-time purchase. All right, cheers.